today is going to be all about Nigel. Lovely Nigel. That's Nigel there, not me. People keep calling me Nigel. In fact, just the other day, a couple stopped me in Aldi and said, "Nigel, we've just seen your car outside." Who'd have thought it? Nigel being referred to as sick. Yes, this young lady said that my car was sick. It's not a term I've ever used, but I do agree with your definition of it. That little story is somewhat irrelevant today. Today is the day that Nigel gets a new engine. No, I am not joking. There's a chap about to arrive any second now with a new engine to go in here. Why? Why does it need a new engine? Well, I have to say, this one's perfectly good. 1.4 with that, you know what that is. Doesn't lose any oil, doesn't lose any coolant. It runs perfectly and sounds great. And now a gap of around 2 hours whilst the engine was delivered, and I had a little chat with the chap who brought it round. I was just about to move, Gladys, and I think I may have left the ignition on all night or something. Well, my plan was to bring this engine inside and just tuck it away in the corner somewhere. But as this doesn't really want to start at the moment, I'll have to just put it there. Surprisingly enough, it's not even in the way there. I mean, it is a little bit, but really not anywhere near as much as I was expecting. Would you like to know what's going on? I'm going to tell you what's going on in case you would like to know what's going on and you've been wondering what's going on. I can feed your curiosity. This is a 1.8 litre K-Series, which, as you will know, delivers an awful lot more torque than the 1.4 as found in Nigel. It's basically the same engine, but it's bigger. But it's not, it's the same size. In fact, it's probably lighter because it's had more aluminium taken away to actually fit the pistons in. Nigel doesn't actually need an engine, as you know. It doesn't need one. So why have I got this engine? What's going on? Why is this video so confusing so far? That's the nature of my videos. Still have a wing available. This 1.8 engine came out of another car. It's got less than 80,000 miles. It's been serviced meticulously. It is a very, very good engine, but it's been taken out because another one was fitted with a bit more power still. And this engine has then been given to me. Quite simply because he doesn't want the hassle of trying to sell it or having to deal with people whilst selling it. And he would prefer to let me have it for my car than to deal with people. We're all familiar with that kind of thing. I get it all the time. I had somebody asking for my postcode this morning at 1 o'clock to buy some Renault wheels. Anyway, never mind all that waffle. Let's get back to the engine. What are the benefits of having a 1.8 engine in Nigel as opposed to a 1.4? Well, more torque. More torque and ease of acceleration. What are the negatives of having a 1.8? Not feeling like you're in a racing car when you really do gun it. And the hassle of fitting it. But that might be fun anyway. I mean, that will be, obviously, a video. So what do? I mean, this engine in there, it's perfectly good, sounds nice. It's been serviced, it's looked after, it's had a recent cam belt, it's had a recent head gasket. There's no reason for that engine to go wrong ever. The other thing, of course, is by having the 1.8, I would have to have the ECU remapped. Yes, and then you consider the difference in power between the 1.4 with the bigger throttle body and the 1.8. It's actually very little in it. It's about 10 or 15 horsepower at the most. Then, of course, is the other issue of informing the DVLA, having it changed over on the V5, my insurance. I don't think they'd be too bothered because it's still a standard engine. They're not bothered about the colours on there. I have checked, yes, the DVLA and my insurance company aren't bothered about the colours on it because it's all standard stuff. But what they would be bothered about is, or what they would really want to know about, is a change of engine. To make it all legal and above board, you'd have to have the engine number. Ah, there's a nail down there. We have to have the engine number on the V5. Plus, because it's a bigger capacity, that would improve the costs of taxing it as well. They'd like that, but it would feel much more punchy and much more aggressive. Until I got used to it, then I wouldn't really notice it any longer. It appears to have some sort of robot face from this angle. What else though? There's no way I'm going to say no to an engine, a 1.8 engine that I could fit into Nigel at some point, because after all, this is an ongoing project. It's not finished. It may look finished, but there are a variety of things I still have to do. I actually don't want to be at the end of the work on this car, and that's why when people say to me, you need to change the tailgate, and I think, well, maybe a bit too finished then. I don't have any plans to change the tailgate, but what I do have plans for would be for this. Apparently some interior tweaks and that headlining. That headlining has to be sorted out. Yeah? Just bits like that. Plus, the bodywork as well. It does look very shiny when it's all washed and everything, but it's not good enough. It really isn't. I need touch-up pens for this. Loads of them, all these different colours. The main one being sienna gold, because there's so many of these scratches like this that are not going to buff out. Can you hear that? Because it's right down to the paint. You can't fix that. At any point I could end up with some different wheels on if some come along that I prefer. And that really is the same for any of the panels really. It's kind of complete as it is. But in particular, this wing here, I'm not very happy with its shine. In fact, you know what? I might actually just go and fix that right now. An engine swap was always going to be a possibility on the cards for this car, but you know, I thought I'd probably have a turbo. If you think about the amount of potential things you can do to improve your car, it's not just paint work or engine work, but it's all the suspension and the exhaust and all of it. But basically the whole car could be a new car by the time I finish with it. But I'm promising never to be finished with it. That's the thing. I don't want to be finished with it. I'm going to do some buffing. Just one panel. Just one. Just this one. Just the green wing. Right, I'm going to do this properly. Actually, to really do this properly, take the wing off, but I haven't got time for that. It's just on a whim I'm doing it in the first place. Done it? Yep, I've done it. Much better. I would show you a bit more close up, but it's not as good as I was hoping. I need to do it for a bit longer, I reckon. Obviously the engine in my car is good, it sounds nice. It's not the smoothest I have heard, but it has got me thinking that some K series are a bit tappety and a bit rattly, yet they're okay. And it doesn't seem to be down to the amount of miles that we've done. Now, if you know them, you'll know that you've really got to keep on top of the servicing, because if you get cloggy oil, you get all the top of the engine starts to be starved of oil, and that's where they start to get rattly. But the other thing as well, of course, quite well known, is you shouldn't thrash them when they're cold. So, I have this theory. Most of the really nice ones that you hear are 1.8s, but the 1.8 has more torque. So when you start it up from cold, you can just pull away without having to rev the thing. So if you're not revving it, you're not stressing the engine, and then you're not causing it damage from cold. And that's probably why. Interesting, eh? That 1.8 engine there, I will clean it up so nicely that you could eat your dinner off of it if you're that way inclined. I never understand why anyone would choose an engine over a plate, but if that's what you wanted, that will obviously be the case. It's worthwhile keeping just in case, you know, just in case the worst was to happen to this engine for some reason. Not that it will, but a backup engine, if you like. A backup engine with a view to a future project. There we go. I think I've nailed all that now.